This video is going to review the Big Ideas Lesson 7.1. What can you conclude about the angles formed by two intersecting lines? When we have two intersecting lines, we have four angles with four pairs of adjacent angles. And of course, a math joke. All right, a couple pieces that we want to make sure we understand. Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees, and so we're going to need to know that to help us solve for some missing angles. So adjacent complementary angles, we see that right here. That means they are next to each other. They're sharing a vertex and a common side. These two angles over here are complementary. They equal 90 degrees, but they are not adjacent. Whoops. They are not adjacent because they do not share a common vertex or a common side. So we can use that to help us solve for some missing angles. So we know that in problem number 2, x plus 42 degrees equals 90 degrees. These are two adjacent complementary angles. I see that square corner, so I know it's 90 degrees. I can use my equation solving skills to figure out what is the value of x. So I want to isolate x, and I do that by using the inverse operation. So instead of having plus 42, I need to use the inverse. The property of equality tells me I need to do that to both sides. These will cancel out, and I can see that x equals 48 degrees. Okay, over here I have x and 25 that get me to 90 degrees. So I'm going to write that out as my equation, and then I'm going to solve again using those inverse operations. So I'm going to subtract 25 from both sides. These will cancel out. X equals 65 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees, and again they can be adjacent supplementary angles where they have a common vertex and a common side, or they can just be two separate angles that equal that 180 degrees. So that can help us to figure out these problems as well. So 180 degrees is that straight line. Again, I can figure out some equations I'm going to write. So I know in this first one, x plus 127 equals 180 degrees. Again, I'm going to use inverse operations to figure out what is the value of x. So I'm going to subtract 127 from both sides. These will cancel out. And in this first problem, x equals 53 degrees. In the second one, I have x plus 85 degrees equals 180. So I'm going to again use inverse operations. So subtract 85. Property of equality tells me to do it on both sides of that equal sign, and x equals 95 degrees. Okay, so this one's a little more tricky, but we just are going to use all of those things we already know about solving equations to do this one. So I'm going to first set up my equation. I know that this expression here, oops, plus 35 is going to get me to 90. So I'm going to write that out. 4x plus 7 degrees plus 35 degrees equals 90 degrees. Now my job is to combine my like terms, and so I have two constants right here, and so I'm going to add 35 and 7, and so I end up 4x plus 42 equals 90. My job is to get to where I'm isolating my variable x, and so I'm going to get rid of first my constant that's stuck to my 4x. So I have a plus 42. I'm going to subtract 42 to work on getting towards that isolating my variable. So when I do this, those will cancel out, and 4x is left alone. 90 minus 42 equals 48. Now I have 4 being multiplied by x, so to undo that I'm going to use the opposite, division, and divide by 4. I have to do that on both sides. 4 divided by 4 equals 1, so x is now left alone. 48 divided by 4, x equals 12. And I can go ahead and check that if I substitute in for my variable, that 12 plus 7. 4 times 12 is 48, plus 7 equals 55, and 55 plus 35 will indeed equal 90. right, now we're going to just look at some vertical angles. Remember, vertical angles are opposite and they are equivalent. So these two with that purple dot are opposites or vertical angles, and they would have the same angle measure. And also these with the teal dot, they're opposites, they'd have the same angle measure. All right, so that helps us to solve for some missing angles. So we have this angle marked with the blue arc is 133 degrees. The angle marked with the green arc is a vertical angle to that 133 degrees, so it also has to be 133 degrees. Find the missing angles. All right, so first thing we're going to do is find the opposite B, the vertical angle, because we know that's going to be equivalent. So B has to be 40 because it is a vertical angle to that 40-degree angle. Okay. Then when we're solving for, let's solve for A first. Sometimes it's helpful to turn if you need to, and you can see that A plus 40 make a straight line, and so those are supplementary angles, so they are going to equal 180 degrees. So A plus 40 equals that straight line 180 degrees. So I can solve to figure out the value or the measure of A equals 140 degrees. And then using that vertical angle theorem, I know that if A is 140 degrees, C is opposite A, and so that will also be 140 degrees. Oh, this is a lot going on here, but we can do this. We can solve for X. So we can see that since this angle right here is 90 degrees, the angle over here is also going to be 90 degrees, so that can help us to solve. So we know that X plus 50 is going to equal 90 degrees. How do I know that that adjacent angle is 90? Well, I can see that this angle over here and my marked 90-degree angle make a straight line or a supplementary angle, so I know it's a total of 180 degrees. So X plus 50 will equal 90. Probably you can see this without solving your equation, that X then equals 40 degrees. All right, your job today is Big Ideas Lesson 7.1 assignment. And of course, I'll leave you with one last math joke. Have a great day.